Any idea how you'll start off with the CSS? So again, in HTML you can write just actual tags only, but writing well-formed HTML. What is it? There's a word saying well-formed HTML, which is nothing but you will add proper, all this meta tags along with the, what to say, boilerplate code that we need, and having closing tag and of its body and HTML. Now here you start writing. So I've written H1. So what is it? Stellar. And then what? I also have a paragraph with so and so text. So okay, I can copy this text. No need to type because I know it's a paragraph. And while writing HTML, I still see some of you are writing first less than symbol and then writing paragraph. No, I highly suggest not to do this. This will be a purely waste of time. So type the tag name, not the syntax. Name UL. Then say tab. See UL tab. Three key press. But if at all you have to start writing yourself, this key is one. UL you have to write. Then another key, and these are like special characters. You will have to hold the shift, then slash, then UL, then greater than. Do you want that? Do you want to press so many keys just for a simple thing? Answer is highly no. Okay. Again, I have told you there is something called some plugin called Emmet, which will even make your life easy. So if you start learning some of this abbreviation, so let's say you want an anchor tag inside li and inside a ul, so you are done. Here you can say hash and say tab. Here it will go. Okay. So let's say learn more. Over. Correct. So let's say in this here li you need 4 li's. It is going to add, or you need this combination fours. See, you get 4. Fine. So this is how not to waste your time in writing HTML and make writing HTML easy. And another important thing I've seen with some of your templates, as and when I start writing, right, I'm not adding spaces. I see some of you are adding spaces. Some of you are, doing this backspace and doing a misalignment, which is actually wrong. And HTML later, if you try to format, it becomes a bit difficult actually. I think for me, formatizer is working. Right click if you format also it's working. So don't add extra spaces actually. So I write enter, and wherever it is cursor is allowing, from there on only I am going to type. I won't start from here. It is a very small thing, but generally we do this kind of mistake. You start from where the cursor, the cursor is already placed. Why did it place? Because you are in the nesting. See now whenever nested, I can collapse this and see what are all the HTML tags which are there under that. See, why did li start here? Did I tell li to start here? No, that's a formatting rule you should follow. That makes your code readable actually. All right. Yeah. Okay. So now, so you respect that rule, and that is how you start typing the code. Okay. So let's move on. So now we understood how to write well-formed HTML and adding simple tags. Now, how do you start off with CSS? Yes, obviously you will add link and okay, and then you will put a style name. Here, always my recommendation, right? You know, create one folder. Okay, in terms of file naming also. So put one folder. So you call it Stellar. In the Stellar folder, you are supposed to put this HTML file. Within the Stellar folder, I have stellar.html. Again, I would highly suggest not to name it as stellar.html. If you already have a folder like this, then I would say index.html. Right? Now in the same Stellar folder related to Stellar, I can create another file called style.css. Why I am doing like this? This is called grouping. Can you tell me what happens if I start practicing another 10 templates here only? Yeah. For example, if I have Photon, let's say tomorrow I am asking you to work on Photon. Under Photon, you start off with new file index.html and then you know style.css. Hope this is clear. Okay. In terms of how to write and how to organize the code. Again, in terms of naming, we fully write lowercase. We don't go for uppercase and all. Let's say even if it is multi-word, generally folders are named in lowercase only. Assume this photon has multiple words, huh? So then we will keep hyphen and then say photon, another word called template. Over. No spaces, hyphens, lowercase, yeah, same case, and hyphen if it is a multi-word. This is how, as a standard practice, we follow at least in the projects. So I'm trying to tell you the same standard because this is now what you are trying to begin now. So in the beginning itself, you should develop the good practices so that this is all going to, you will have a practice of that only. Or if you tend to now itself think like okay totally different, then you will make a lot of different, and then that shows that okay you don't know the standards. All right, and people, especially people who are experienced, they'll see more the standards, the quality and the standard of code you are writing than how much you are written and what you and all you are written. Because at the end of the day, everybody should see this, correct? As a developer. Okay, so now I wrote. I also have a CSS file. Now I can start adding this. But let me tell you, yeah, I think it is linked also. So now I have to add style. Now assume now the target of me is to make something like this, exactly like this, correct? So what are the properties we will start writing? Yeah. So let me click on go live, and then maybe I'll keep the things aside. So when I'm writing HTML, what are the things? How do I start off with things? Generally, what do we write? Mani, you have an idea? What do we write? Or maybe Gagan also can give me an answer.
Text. Sorry.
So if at all I have written an HTML, and general as a practice, you need not write complete HTML and then start writing CSS. If you want to do section by section, that's also fine. Let's say you want to implement this first, you want to implement this section and then implement the next section, that's fine. You need not have to write full HTML and CSS, or you can write full HTML and then you start off with CSS, that's also fine. So my question
Sir,
is,
if you go with that semantic tags, it will be easy to add the style section by section.
okay, so you're saying we will go with section by section, then it will be easy. Now my first thing is,
Yes.
no, my even question is how do I start off with CSS? I have to write some CSS now. Okay, what should I
Yeah.
start with?
For body. Yeah. For body, we will apply that. Inherit properties
Okay, so in CSS there
like
is some
font
concept called,
family. Yeah.
yeah.
Like that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so usually we start off with font related properties. Yeah, font size, it would be font color. Yeah, there's also a property called box sizing. We said that. So I would say start off with, yeah, what you said, Mani, right? Like, okay, some of the properties which if I apply, they get applied to all the elements. I don't have to apply to individual ones. Some common properties. Example, font family. Okay. Okay, they've used a font family, they've used a Google font. Yeah, they've used a font, the font which is not available in the browser, they're using a custom font. And the font, uh, what is the font name? Source Sans Pro. How do I know? Because they've included it in their HTML. I am able to see that they are loading it. So let's say even there is a font. Yeah, this is a full complete font URL. So we will have to load the font. Where I should load the font? Again in the head tag, I have to load the font. Okay, so in this case they need a font. I am saying you match it. Okay, so because this font, source font, it will not be available for you in the CSS you are written. Now how do I put this font family? We start off with by adding a selector called, we can have yeah, for the entire HTML. Okay, I can say font family. What can I use? Can use something. Now let's say I can use Courier New. I'm also loading now for Source Sans Pro. I think for some of you are not told you what is Google font and how to load it. I think, did I tell you?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for your
Yes.
money, I think we have
All.
discussed. Yeah, for I think the new set of people, I think I have not discussed. Okay, so fine. So just like we know how to apply font family and what is a font family, but then this particular font I have to apply it so that now my all the text, whatever I'm going to write, will be of same font family. Since I'm writing for this particular HTML itself, now let's say if I inspect this, yeah, what did I write? I wrote for HTML. What? So when I inspect HTML, I get to know, yeah, I've applied this style. Where? In the styles. You see, it has a value also. Now, did I apply this value for a paragraph? Did I apply this paragraph? No, I don't see it. But what does HTML says? I inherited from HTML. Why? Because it's a root element. So we have one concept called inheritance in CSS. We will understand that. But what is the value it applied? Courier new. Same thing whatever applied for HTML. Yeah, same thing goes for all the elements actually. And especially one thing to remember, all the font related properties, be it font size, color, yeah, family, all these things are inherited properties. So if you apply to the parent, they'll also apply to automatically all the child elements. Fine. So now I think we are with a lot of concepts, we are much again getting deviated. So don't worry, I think I'll tell you. So now the point is, okay, I fix the font for this. Is that enough? Maybe no. Yeah, why? Color is not matching. If I start applying color, then background color has to be there. Yeah, background color has to be there. I have to set a background color, and then I have to set this.
And also we need to make some alignment.
Yeah, alignment has to be there. Uh, but more than element, I think I have to match the size also. Okay, so since I have not discussed much on the alignment, so I have to make the size also match. How? By using what is the property we know to apply the match the size? Font size. Okay, then let me apply font size. How? I'll go to HTML. Okay, so now I'll start writing for H1 and then I say font size. How much I'll give? 50 pixel, let's say. So do you think this is correct or am I making any mistake? I gave 50 pixel H1 applied. Or you think no, I have to improve something? Okay, so when I talked about selector, I told you one thing: you should not be using this generic selectors. Why? The simple reason being, if I start writing H1 anywhere else, for that also I'll end up applying the same style whatever I was writing for the, you know, yeah, second heading. I end up duplicating the style. If I whatever I apply, then they get applied to this element also. Do you see that is correct? If you think, you know, you are writing some HTML or you are writing some CSS which needs to be applied for all the elements, then you go for this general selectors, which is like basically what is the type of what is the selector this is? Which type of selector it is?
Element.
Element or type selector. Why? Because I am using the name of the tag. I'm using name of the tag for selecting the element. That's why I'm going to use a particular tag. If you think this is not not required for all the elements, let's say now what will you do? You apply alignment also. So you will say text align. You will say center. Do you think all the headings should be in center? Maybe this is right. This is a generic style, but this is not the case. Yeah. So in that case, what do we do? Yeah, I want h1 to be 50 pixel, all the h1, because that's how I would like to maintain, all the headings uniform size. I don't want to mix and, make a missile, consistency. It should be consistent. So in that case, only for this h1, I need a different style, which is alignment. Then I can go and adding some ID, or I can add some class. So I can go with either of them. For now, you understand, okay, ID and class is also fine. But later I'll tell you which one is the right appropriate one. Let's say ID. I'll say what? I can say stellar, or I can say heading stellar. Yeah, I can name anything I want, but always meaningful will make it work for me later easy to read. So you use either ID or class. Accordingly, you write your CSS here. Though I'm applying to the H1, since this H1 applies to both the element, I'm avoiding it. I'm introducing one because I want to only write for the stellar alone. Yeah, what I'm supposed to write? Text align center. Now see, for this element alone, it is center. This wedding is in the left only. Now, what if it doesn't work? Yeah, I applied this style. What if it doesn't work? I can inspect and see. I can inspect and see what is the style applied. For this H1, there is an H1 which is applied from here. There is also a style from heading is also applied here. There is also a style from user agent is also applied, which is default browser added. Yeah. So you see the properties are being cascaded from multiple sources into a single element. That's what the name is CSS. Yeah. Cascaded style sheets. All right. Okay. So now I wrote the alignment for stellar. Yeah. So alignment I wrote. Maybe if I put some. So where do I put the background color for? Now let's say here. This element needed. What happens if I apply background color to this element itself? How do I get the background color? I told you if I inspect, there will be some tools through which you can actually inspect the exact color and I can put it. How? How I can select the exact color? Oh, I mean, how I can select this? It is actually looking like a background gradient, but for now I'll show you how to pick the color. Anyone can tell me how do I pick this same color? What is here? So very simple. So browser itself has a tool. So let's say color, I apply blue, I click on blue. Yeah, randomly I apply some color to this element. Don't worry, we'll change it. So now again I can click on this particular color itself. This will open what is called as a color picker tool. Yeah, I click on this color value and then I got a color picker value. This works. This works on any element. Okay, this works on any element. Now after that I can do what I call as eyedropper. Just a second. All right. So I'm showing, uh, how do I pick a color? So there is an eyedropper. If I can take this element I mean, take this tool and I can click on, I can select this. Now it will show me what is the color at this point. Again, I can take and see what is this color. So I get some extra decimal value. Or if I want a specific color, different in different unit, yeah, I will be getting all these things, RGB, all that. So preferable value is X value, and I'll take the X value. Okay, I got the color also. But again, another big question becomes, so how to which element apply this particular style or background? Shall I apply to this particular heading which is in stellar? Yeah, let's say this is a good selector to write. Yeah, selector is good. Now I'm writing color for this. Now what happens? I get applied only to this element. But if I look at this template, is it only the background is only for this element? No, that's not the case, correct? The answer is it is applied for few more elements. So there is a paragraph. There is also an image tag which we didn't consider now while writing. Yeah. So in that case, what I should do? Yeah, let's say if there is a paragraph coming now, and for this paragraph also I should apply a background color. But that doesn't happen, okay, until unless I am applying it to a common element. So that is where we introduce, yeah, a grouping tag. I would like to group this element. Yeah. So I'm just showing you one of the reason why need a grouping element. For example, I need a tag which is called header tag. Yeah, I can go for an HTML tag which is called header, which is one of the semantic tag because name itself gives you a lot of meaning. So this tag I can use and then I start writing HTML. Now the purpose of grouping is, okay, I want to apply some styles which like I cannot apply to individual element. Example, background color. Again, let's say I want to align the entire content. Now let me show you how whatever template we have written. Okay, this is how it is coming like. See now, I cannot apply send text align to this, text align to this, text align to this individually. Now, if I just have that alignment things with the grouping, what if I can apply only to this common element? So point is, so instead of repeating or overdoing the things, we make it simple by applying it to a parent element, whatever I can apply, and that can be easily, you know, make the other things work. Yeah, example now I'm saying background. So likewise, we need to analyze like, and then we should also identify the grouping elements. Now one point on the grouping, since I know this is header, this looks like an header for the page, I applied. What do I do in other cases? So there are so many elements, I mean, there are so many grouping tag. One common practice which we used to do olden days is div, which is nothing but a division. This is one division, this is another division, this is one more division. Yeah. So this is a olden days practice. But with HTML5, this is actually, the recommended is use any of the semantic tags, which gives a lot of meaning. For example, this you are making some menu. Then they say, okay, add one menu actually, if you want to, instead of just writing UL, which doesn't give much of the meaning to both user also as the browser. So add menu to this. This is a recommendation. Let's say you are trying to add some section here or some article here. Again, there are tags like section and article. These are also HTML tags, which which gives meaning actually. There is no difference if I use section and div in terms of visualization. You don't see any difference between div and section. I write section, I write div, okay, both are one and the same. Most of the semantic tags, whatever I have written, be it header, menu, this div, you will not find any difference, visually, because they are just container tags, which means they are just are used for holding some content. But they, the purpose of again grouping those contents and putting them, wrapping them is to apply some common styles, to apply some properties like background color. Is it clear so far? So far any questions?
No, sir.
No?
No, no,
Okay. So if you say no, then I think
no.
let's, okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Uh, so now you see, we write HTML just like, okay, thinking it's a simple HTML, and then we have to, we can start doing it. But there are so many things that one needs to consider, and this becomes like a practice. Today, if I have to tell you all these 10 things, and you have to follow all these 10, it would be highly difficult. But this should come by practice. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? This should come by a practice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you cannot follow all this at what first go itself. Take some time. But if you start practicing, you will be able to follow all these things. You will start seeing other people have written a similar standard. Okay, all right. Now
Yes, sir.
we discussed why to group the elements, why people have unnecessary put, yeah, why we have put extra elements like div, yeah, why people are wrapping it. And today's standard is not to use div much. Yeah, today's standard is not to use div, but it is to write semantic elements. All right. So yeah, now I can apply background color to that particular element, the particular container, which is header. So I can again write some selector here. Again, there can be more than one header which are present. Then I can go for what is called as class. I can even put a class as header. Yeah, header can come anywhere again. So the I can put one class called header. Then I apply style such a way that, so this background color, I'm refactoring it. It doesn't lo looks like it is holds good there. Text align also I added initially, which seems to be better fit. And now we can see the updated thing. Now, okay, it is not looking white, so I can even apply the color white to the header itself instead of rather than applying to each of the element which are part of that. So as a standard practice, we write hexadecimal value for all the colors. So I use the same thing. Okay. Now I started observing one more thing. You see, the body element has got, okay, a margin. Yeah. So body element has got a margin. If you ask me what is a margin,
Sir, I think you are in mute.
really? No, I'm not in a mute. How about others? Do you hear me? No? Oh, okay, okay.
Sir, you can fix that by using keyword.
How about now? You can, I think, hear me now. Back. Do you? Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't observe that. Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying is, we use the grouping element. I just refactored the style from here to here. Initially, I wrote this, but then I see it is better to apply for this element. And also, I was telling in terms of color, we always write hexadecimal value. I could have written easily white, but then I used the color as white, for, I mean FFF, which is actually a white. Okay. The next thing I was showing, so I see some extra space here, which is like, okay, if I inspect this element, there's no extra space. If I inspect body, around the body, you see this orange color. That's actually a space which is called margin. Yeah, what is it called? It's called margin. So, so that margin I would like to remove it. Okay, so let me apply a common style to the body element. It says margin 0. Again, if you see, mostly some of the element selectors we write in the top because they are all written one time and they are all applicable for the entire document. That's why we write kind of on the top. And otherwise, the rest of the CSS can go on as I'm keep adding. There is no particular order like okay this should come first. So we usually write first element, and like we put the things on top. Again in terms of the order in which we have to write the CSS. Okay, so now since I removed the margin which was added to the body element, you see now my element is full width. Is it done? No, it's not done. So still there are many things to be applied for this element to come exactly like this. So I'll have to adjust the font size. I have to go for aligning the content. So how do I align? Yeah. So they have some techniques. So text align center. So text align center. Is it working? Yeah, maybe working. I have to apply the width also so that my paragraph doesn't take more than what is required here. Correct? By default paragraph takes. So it's not a so easy stuff if we don't know all the properties to write the CSS. But for now, so don't worry. I mean, so this is how you're supposed to start with. Yeah, and don't aim that okay you'll be able to write the CSS. Yeah, for the given document or the given HTML that you have written. It is going to take some time. Clear? And in terms of the properties that we have written now, so okay, since you are not much aware of the spacing or you are not aware much about on the uh, you know like alignment, yeah. So now what are the next set of properties we know? Do I apply position here? Do I need to do a change in position or anything which I need to fix in terms of font related properties? Yeah, so we have discussed what is called as typographical properties. So any of those typographical properties can be applied to these elements. Or did I apply everything for fine? That we need to check. Yeah. Now let's say for example I see two anchor tags here. Okay, so let's say these two anchor tags are coming here. The next thing I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say I wrap this text within an anchor tag. Yeah. Why do I use hash? So for now I don't know the link where it goes to. So for the in that case I use hash. And then I write the actual HTML inside, and then there is an HTML5 text that also goes inside an anchor tag. Yeah, it's an inline tag as we discussed. Then I go on adding HTML5 inside this anchor tag. Okay, fine. Now how do I style those anchor tags? They are by default in blue. Few days back we learned, okay, how to style anchor tags. Correct? We understood different. I think in the last class itself, if you remember. Yeah, I told you anchor tag we need to do something. For example, yeah, maybe I see all the anchor tags in the page appears to be same style or no? No, maybe no. Or they're all having this dotted underline if you see all the anchor tags. So there will be some general properties or common properties which are applicable for all the elements. So what I'm seeing for all the anchor tags, I see there is one thing which is common, text decoration. Yeah, so text decoration, which is usually underline. But then what I would like to say, I would want to make it dotted. What is the color they have? Color for that text decoration is white, which is nothing but FF. So let me try first that and see if it matches. Yeah, text decoration. Okay, dotted, color FFF. Think I'll have to apply some margin to the header. Let me apply it to the margin or padding. Okay, padding is preferred. I'll tell you why. I am adding padding. I'm adding this padding just because this text was sticking to the border. See, this text was sticking to the border. I applied some space which is in the form of padded. So now if I inspect, you see a green border around the element. That is actually a padding space. Alright. So do I see an underline here? No, I don't see an underline. Why? Let me inspect if it is applied or not. Okay. Again, same technique of debugging it. Text decoration dotted. Color, so and so. But why I don't see it? Underline. Underline is coming. Yeah. So what are the other values I have? Okay, there is something called dashed. Is it dashed? No, it's not dashed also. So like this, instead of keep editing my HTML and CSS, I don't have to, make a switch to and forth in the debugging tool itself, as I was telling. So in the debugging tool itself, you can clearly check, okay, what is going on, and then anything that you have to adjust. Once this is fixed here, you can take it back to your code. Okay, so dotted is correct, but I wonder, okay, I wonder why it is not coming. Again, the way dotted is coming, always, no, it is getting removed actually, correct? And over it is getting removed. Okay, so this is a general anchor tag style. There is an empty selector which I don't want. I'm removing it. Yeah, I can add over style because I've learned how to add over style. So text decoration, none. Again, I told you while typing CSS also, you don't have to type the full thing. Let's say there is a suggestion. Text align is coming now. You think that's the correct thing? You say press tab. Then it will automatically select that. And see, once I press tab, this also it is automatically coming. So browsers have become very intelligent tool. Okay, they have already equipped with a lot of superpower, which means you need not have to do too much of work. Here also again emit will work. Let's say I want, for example, yeah, text decoration none. All I have to do is tdn, t d for second word and n for last word, which is a value. And I say tdn. All I have to type is tdn if you see, and then tab. So, so powerful it is. They emit abbreviations and all, if you remember. So there is one property called list style type none. LST. Okay, list style type n. See, it is exactly matching to, okay, the matching property and its value. That way you can do speed up with respect to typing the known properties. Alright. And again I said, if at all you want to know the different values, so you can remove of the value and say control space. That will actually give you idea of the different values that you have. You don't have to keep referring and checking what value it has. No, with this itself you will learn that okay, there are so many properties and values this particular property supports. So it's a kind of learning for you guys. So control space here, and then if you just type property and then say tab, then also automatically it will give you auto suggestions. Yeah, or IntelliSense. This is called IntelliSense. Okay, so and over you need a text decoration. So with that it should have come, but I wonder why they are not exactly looking like that. but not worry. But this is how we can actually start off with that. Okay, so with that, I'm just trying to start off. Okay, this is looking white, but this is not looking like white. How do I understand which color is this? Again, the same tool which I showed you a few minutes back. I can even understand the color of the font also by going with the color picker or the eyedropper which I was there. Okay, so say okay, I think I'm going to change the value of that. So instead of introducing a value, I can even check there will be for sure there will be a color which will be applied. For example, you see color is applied here. I can use this itself, and from there I can launch the color picker, and I can go on checking for the text what is the exact font color which is applied to this element. Let's say for J this color is applied, so which doesn't look like white, then it is not hexadecimal value also. I can take hexadecimal value from here by uh, you know using HSL. Okay, I wonder why RGB came. Just a second, I think I was able to adjust it here, but I don't see the RGB value at all here. Interesting. uh, I want to convert into, okay, sorry, I think I was typing, no, okay, wonder why.
Sir, wonder.
Yeah,
We do have some orders, correct? CSS order while styling the anchor links. Do we need to follow that order, or we can go with whatever we want?
okay, good question, but I think I've already answered in the previous class, Money. So there is also a rule which I've explained. So we have to go with that order only. Okay, so it is like basically link and then visited. After that, active, and also
Yeah, over and last
the first is link and visited. Another one is
visited over
active,
and yeah.
active, and one more state is over, active, and then over. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So there's an order. So you watch the previous video also. You will understand. Okay. So I am trying to find an hexadecimal value. Wonder why it is not allowing me to convert it. Uh, this was a different tool earlier. Okay, it was allowing me to change it here itself to get the hexadecimal value. So even if I don't get, there are actually converters which can actually help me convert it. Okay, for now we know that even RGBA notation works. So I can go for, now I have to change the color of only this paragraph. How do I change it? Should I write a generic selector like P? Is it okay that all the paragraph will have the same style? No, it says this paragraph is different color, this paragraph is different color. That way I decide, no, I cannot write a generic P, I have to write a specific P. So when I have to write a specific P, then obviously I have to use, the class names. I have to use a different selector. So I should say now header, within that header, yeah, so we can go for what is called as P tag. Now which is this selector? Yeah, the other day I think for few of you guys I told you there's a class selector, there's a ID selector, there is a type selector and universal selector. So we had few more. In that few more, this is called, okay, child selector. So if I put greater than, it is child. If I put space, then it is descendant selector. Fine. Now I'll apply color, yeah, using any of them. So RGB, yeah, RGB A is one of the notation. It says it takes four values: 175, 188, 214, comma 1. Now I got the font color fixed for this paragraph. See, it takes so much time. As a beginning, it takes a lot of time to write CSS. It's not so easy. And have patience actually. Once you get used to it, once you start writing multiple templates, then you will know, okay, you will not take the same time like, okay, the way I took to inspect and see and then write. Alright? So with this, yeah, almost like my first section is somewhat done. Yeah. So So you now understand, if I have to start explaining all these things, it is going to take a lot of time. But don't worry. Yeah. So I've told you all the essentials, like, okay, are at least the way we have to approach. And don't, again I've told you, as a beginner, don't expect that you will be able to do it exactly like this. If you are going to do today itself exactly like this, then there is no point in continuing, like, explaining me CSS every day, because you know everything. Yeah, you will be learning everything. No, that's what we are learning now. Okay, slowly we are trying to understand, okay, how do I learn from basics of CSS, different selectors, properties, values, and then we learn all of this. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so mainly, if I have told you, so I think I've told you how to use this inspector, yeah, very well. You can inspect the properties, you can debug the styles from your inspector. You can also play around with the different values and see what happens. Yeah, and then inspecting a specific element. Why do I need to group the elements? In what way case we have to go for grouping? Again, for grouping, what are the different options we have? I can go for a generic element like div, which is a very old, yeah, olden way of writing. But then instead we can actually use a lot of semantic tags. Yeah, so they'll help basically the search engine optimization. Yeah, div is so all of them, they don't differ in anything. Okay, in terms of the styling or appearance, it's just that naming. Yeah, and in terms of getting started with CSS, I told you we write something like which are common properties, like, okay, which are applicable to most of the elements or all the elements. Yeah, example like font family is a very common thing that we write. Body setting margin 0 is also very common style, which is also called as CSS reset. And then some of the common styles which applicable to all the elements, we can place it on top. After that, we go on writing specific style. For specific style, we either use class or ID. Between these two, the preferred is class. Yeah. After that, I told you how to pick a color, how to match the exact color. Okay. So yeah, we discussed what is Emmet, and then, okay, how we can use both Emmet, both in HTML as well as CSS. Yeah. And no need to waste a lot of time in typing every character that is there in the HTML. So take advantage of Emmet, do try to autocomplete, invoke autocomplete even both in HTML and CSS wherever it is required. All right. I think if you learn to, start off with this way, I think it's I mean, the recommended way, at least what I've learned. Or if at all I have to write, this is how I'm going to write. I might be wrong here and there, but mostly this is the approach, or there can be better approach than what I'm doing today. Yeah. So this is my observation, this is what is my learning, and the same thing I'm explaining.